Hello, my name's Robert. I'm an alcoholic. And I'm going to share a little bit of my story. I'd almost what you would call an accidental alcoholic. At a young age, about 11, my dad would come home from work and he'd be drinking in the front yard with him and his friends. And he'd always leave me a little sip in his beer to kill him. Go ahead, kill it. Well, then once I killed his, I really didn't feel nothing on that. But then his friends are, go ahead, want to kill mine? Kill mine, kill mine. Well, now, an inadequate kid who felt like he never fit in at 11 years old suddenly got a queasy feeling and said, whoa, what's this? You know, and he had 4 friends he used to drink with after work. And some of them left a lot more in than just the little sip. So at a young age, I got a taste for alcohol. You know, 11 years old. You know, and then I was running outside when they came home after that to kill. All right, I'm ready. No, it ain't ready to be killed yet, is what they tell me. I'm trying to grab them while they still got stuff in it. You know, so that was my introduction to alcohol. And why I think I took to it so much is I had learning disabilities, ADD. I wasn't able to graduate kindergarten with the rest of my class. I had to go to transition, which is an in-between class. You know, I had dyslexia. I couldn't learn, and I got teased, picked on, and bullied a whole lot. You know, and it really had me feeling like I was a defective human being at a young age. You know, I didn't fit in. Well, once I got 2 or 3 sips of that beer in me, now suddenly that feeling of emptiness, it went away. Wow, hey, I feel all right, I can function. So then I carried that up to where getting into my dad's liquor stash, replacing it with water. Got my ass whooped for that. I guess I drank more of the Chivas than I thought, because when he made my uncle drink who came to visit, Uncle said, you gonna put any alcohol in this? You know, my dad whooped my ass for that one, because Chivas was expensive back in the 80s. You know, it was like high-end stuff. And then I just carried that on, and as I got right up into junior high school in 7th grade, you know, I found my people. You know, the kids that were drinking and partying and being the mess offs in school. Well, then the next came the introduction of marijuana. You know, that was real good, and we fit in. You know, we were the stoner crowd. I don't know if they still have that crowd these days. Some of you young people, the stoner crowd in school. There, we'd be in the alley smoking and drinking. Go to school at the last minute, drunk off our ass. And I got the message from, because I was defective, I didn't matter, and I was different from other kids. You know, it's okay to do this. He goes, hey, now I fit in. When I'm drunk, when I'm drinking, I don't have that hollowness in the middle of my stomach anymore. You know, and that's the early stages of what led me to my alcoholism. And you know, as I progressed and got older, I experimented with other drugs, you know, harder drugs, alcohol, weed, it's all gateway stuff. You know, and then I got into cocaine for a while. You know, and that wasn't good. You know, and I was a functioning alcoholic addict, because I worked, I was doing what was right. But what was my downfall was 1987, I was introduced to freebase. Yes, and that ended my life. That was the best way I can put that, was I saw God. So now I found out that you cannot have a drinking and drug habit where you're freebasing and make enough legitimate money to support that habit. It's impossible. No one can do it unless you're a millionaire. So then I turned to selling drugs. Now, the power I had felt hanging around my stoner crowd, you know, that felt good. But once I had the sack and I had people begging me for it, I got a God complex. I became a god. You know, and my defective thinking, a lot of my story ties into step 6, my defects of character. So, I became in my mind, the cocaine god. I thought I was a big time dealer. I was using as much as I was selling. And then that was the progression in my life. And then, I made a big mistake in this. It's like, what does someone who's doing something illegal do? They carry a weapon. Hey, it's protection, man. I'm selling, I'm using, I'm drinking, I'm doing my thing. Hey, you're the big dude. If you're in the club and you're packing heat, the women are coming to you. Oh yeah, dude over there. I love drinking. I love Long Island iced teas. I drink those by the pitchers. Anywhere got Long Islands. That was my drink. That and some good cocaine it didn't get any better. So now I progressed. Now, what I did was, in my defective thinking, now once I became the drug dealer, now I had to adopt an attitude of, I gotta be hard now. In my addiction, in my drink, I was always a happy drunk, I never, I'd rather party than try and fight or anything like that. Well, once I started selling drugs, I saw the people, if you're nice, they would work you, try and get over on you. So now I adopted a harder stance. Well, a friend of mine who thought he was going to get over on me, he was 20 years older than me. We partied together, kicked it. He tried to rob me. You know what? And I murdered him. I murdered him, and I got a life sentence. I did 25 years. I was just released July 27th of this year, after 25 years. So then you would think that would make me smart enough not to keep messing up, right? You're in prison, you got a life sentence. Well, now I came to prison and I got into gangs, because who controls the drugs in prison? The gangs. Well, hell yeah, I'm going to get mine. My drugs and my drink. That was the theme of my life. No matter in or out, from 11 years old through like 17 years of my prison time, it was all about alcohol and drugs. More alcohol than drugs, because alcohol's free. I could make it myself. And it just progressed. And I hurt a lot of people in prison. I did violence to people in prison. I preyed on people in prison, just like I preyed on people on the streets, and being a connection. And then the biggest thing I came to was in 2007. That was March 13, 2007. That's my sobriety birthday. And on that day, nothing worked for me anymore. The drugs weren't working. The alcohol wasn't working. Nothing was working. So I had a gram of heroin in my cell. And I was getting ready to load the outfit and just take myself out. And that was my bottom. I can't explain how that came or why I didn't. My higher power is God. I trust Him. I don't know. It just was like something inside me. It's like made a little notch, and I knew I was done. I knew I was done with everything. And I've been sober since, and I know that, even though I don't have that desire anymore, and it's the choice I made on that, I know I still have to do my program. And my program is sharing, talking to the newcomer, sponsoring people. Like I'm doing a thing where I make announcements at my other AA meetings I go to, about 2 or 3 a week, where I announce I'm trying to get guys in prison sponsors, that were sitting in the groups with me. Because I've been sitting in these programs for 17 years. Now, I've only got eight, little over 8.5 clean. And this program works if you work it. And here's the other thing, too, is what people sometimes have a misconception about AA, NA, or any of these 12-step programs, is that a 12-step program will get you clean. Well, if you go to step 1, it says, we admittedly were powerless over alcohol and our lives had become unmanageable. Okay, the admission. Now, within admission, okay, I admit this. Now I gotta, do I want to change it or do I want to continue to live with my head in the sand doing what I did? That's what admit. It's aware. I admit I'm aware. Now, once I made the choice that I'm done with this, now the steps come into play to teach me how to live a life properly. Because in my addiction and drinking, normal social interaction went out the window. I don't know too many socially sane alcoholics that drank for a lot of years that could just stop drinking and weren't social wrecks. Oh, how do I function straight? You know that was me. You know, it's like, wow, okay. For the first time in 39 years, I'm not on something. What the hell? Wow, is this what it's like to wake up and not want to chase or not want to drink something? It really does take some getting used to. And the steps, when you work them, it shows me how to put my life back together in the proper context. It's a good way to live. And it hasn't let me down yet. And I'm going to just keep doing what I'm doing. And that's where I said my story really centers around defective thinking, because I was at a retreat about a month ago, and pretty much the consensus of that retreat was everyone, even the old-time sponsors and all the dudes that have been in like for millions of years, the dinosaurs, all of them kind of skip over 6 and 7. Say that, you know, the big book doesn't have much on it. The workbook has about a paragraph on it. You know, and I scratched my head and thought, you know what, for me, defective thinking is what all these steps hinge on. Because the minute I get out of here and back up into here, that's what can lead me to drink. Because of all my starts and stops, I had 2 years here, 3 years there, 6 months there, 5 months there, 30 days here, 90 days. I had so many starts and stops, I lost count. Well, when my defective thinking comes back, then it can get down to where, okay, I've been clean 5 years. Well, I can have just one now. I can be like the normal guy. Hey, that guy right over there, he only drinks one and goes home, goes to work. I'm that way now. Well, no. For me, my defective thinking is what can cause me to lose my sobriety. And my defective thinking and my addiction took me so far this is what scares me. It didn't scare me now, but it scares me then, is I went so far down the rabbit hole, that's what I call it, like Alice Sue looking down the rabbit hole, that it allowed me to lose my humanity and see people as less than human. You know, I saw my friend, you know, a guy that I murdered, I saw him as less than human. His body was right here. I walked right by his body, looked down at him, looked at everybody who just watched the shooting happen, like, put my gun away and strolled. You know, so my defective thinking let me lose my humanity. You know, and everybody's got their own horror story of, you know, what the depths they've gone to support their habit and do their drug. And everybody's is different. And that's why I'm really an advocate of step 5, is sharing it. Because I learned with me, when I keep something in my head, it's got a lot more power. Well then, once I share with another alcoholic or addict, and they go, man, that's what had you upset all week. I feel that every day. What do you think? Now and then I scratch, like, wow, man, I feel like a dummy, man. I've been letting that twist me up, wanting to make me fall off the sobriety, when it isn't nothing that every other alcoholic or addict feels. You know, so that's why the sharing in the meetings, getting a sponsor, you know, or just another fellow here and just sharing, you know, that feeling. I found in these meetings that there's very few things to do with alcoholism or any other type of substance that some of these guys in here haven't already felt. You know, I'm not that specialist where I got a whole new take on what it is. And that's where the old timers, you know, my sponsor, the guy got me plugged in, he left town, so now I'm kind of looking for a new sponsor, and I've been out 6 months, and I've done the steps like 3 times, the written steps, and I know I got to do them again. So I got to get a step sponsor and go to a step meeting. I'm hemming and hawing because I'm busy as hell with all the crap I got to do now to keep my state funding in my program. It's like I know I need to do it though. Well, yeah, your service, that ain't cutting it. The consensus is you need to get in and do your steps again. So I'm gonna make that. I got a few people I'm feeling out, that ask them to take me through my steps, and I'm just one of those people when it comes to the AA. The sponsors I've had were like, either call me or kiss off. There wasn't no compassion. It's like, you want to do what I say or don't do it. And I was wondering, what had me thinking was, I wonder if like some of the younger sponsors, like the 90s or 2000 crowd, are any nicer than them old dudes that been around for 40 years. I just wonder if you get a little bit of love, or if that's just, because man, I thought my one I had was hard. Now, okay, you're just no hard. Then I got out here and met the other ones that took me under. They're all the same, but they have my best interests at heart. You know what? Meetings, steps, program, call somebody. And as long as I continue to do that, I know I'll stay straight. Because I got a whole gang of numbers in my phone. If I got the urge, the need, or anything, I got a lot of numbers I can call. And that's the part of my defective thinking that I changed to, is I don't have to do it on my own anymore. Before, I was the stoic. I'm man. I can do it all myself. Now I know I can lean on my fellow alcoholics, addicts, whatever, the misfits, that they're just trying to do the same thing I'm doing, live life one day at a time and not use or drink. And that's pretty much that's why I come to these meetings. I want to stay clean. I know that I never understood this. Like the old timers that talk say, I don't have one more drink in me. I never understood that. Like, what do you mean you don't have one more drink? Now I understand it. I don't have another run in me, or it's either death or I'm going to be back in prison for the rest of my life. I don't have no middle ground. And it's by the grace that I'm even standing here talking to you guys. Because I got my date on a level 4 prison. I did all my time on level 4s. And it's by the grace of God, they saw fit to let me back into society. And I'm not going to squander that and go back to being the dummy that I was, doing the things I'm doing. But trust me, this program really does work if you work it. But remember, these steps are for after I make the choice that, hey, my life is unmanageable. I want something different. I can't do the steps and think the steps are going to get me clean. I still have to make that choice. That's what the first step is. Admitted, admission. Now, I don't want to admit I'm wrong about anything. I don't know about any of you guys, but it's not fun to admit that I was wrong, especially about my own life. And, I found with me, I can be my own worst critic, and I can beat myself up worse than anybody else ever could. And that was I used to do. I beat myself up so bad that it's like, okay, now I'm justified. The big word, okay, now I'm justified in this drink now. And I would blame an outside influence. I'd blame, oh well, I didn't get this or I didn't get that. I would blame an outside influence to justify, but it was really my choice. And I had to accept responsibility for the choices I made in my life. And no one put a gun in my head and made me drink. No one put a gun in my head and made me come to AA. I came because I wanted something different. It took me longer than most. It took me a lot of years to finally hit my bottom and get clean. But I did it, and, if I can do it, anyone else can too. It really It isn't that hard a program to work. And here's one thing I tell the newcomers too. This is the promise I made myself. When I got all into my recovery, I said, okay, here's what it is. You know what? God, this program, I'm going to give you a chance. I'm going to work you 100%. I'm going to do everything I'm supposed to do. And when the program fails, then I'm justified in drinking the rest of my life. Because, hey, it's okay to drink because the program failed. Well, damn, I'm coming up on 9 years and the program hasn't failed me yet. And I don't think it will. When I see the guys that got like 40 years clean, 45, we're like, wow. You know, and just remember, you don't lose nothing to try this program, because even if you do fall off the program or you decide it isn't for you, drugs and alcohol ain't going away. It's not like they're going to disappear and they're not right there waiting for you. You know, try living a healthy life. You know, it feels good to put someone else before myself now. It feels good to be able to make that call and go help somebody. You know, and that's what this program is about. We're all leaning on each other, you know, just trying to get clean. You know, it's a community. And I go out of town a lot to visit relatives and stuff, and every time I go out of town, I find meetings. I go to meetings. You know, I went to the Excellent Way meeting last week. I've never been to a religious AA meeting. It was nice, but it wasn't not enough recovery for me. But it's like no matter where you go, you can find an AA meeting. And I've been to them from Raleigh to Orange County to Riverside, all over where I've been, and they're all doing the same thing that we're doing right here. Preaching the message out of the book, preaching the steps, and talking to each other and staying clean. And you know what? I want to thank you for letting me share today. You know, and I hope something I said helps you or one of you. You know, if anyone's got any questions for me, I'm open for questions or anything, you know, how I can best service you or help all of you guys sitting in here not to use. You know, congratulations on your 90 days. I remember my 90 days, I had like 4 90-day chips from all my falls, but yours is going to stick. And that's good. Yours is going to stick. You know, and I'll help it stick anyway if I can, because that's what I want. I'm just dying to actually get a chip out here. I got like 5 more months, and then I get me a 9-year out here. I want that bad. I never got a chip on the streets. I got some chips in prison that we made, but never on the street. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you for letting me share.
All right, thank you.